Well, here we are in early June of 2007. Mark, myself, his dog Bruno.
The attack dog.
We're in the middle of the surge. The Democrats recently removed all benchmarks, and George Bush has assured us that we're going to be at progress this time. How's the surge going, Mark?
Not so good. According to published reports, they're now saying that they have less than 1/3 of Baghdad under control. They were expecting to be way down the line of this, and now generals are starting to back up and say, well, we never really expected too much control until the middle of summer. As a matter of fact, September might be a better time to gauge. Well, I got to tell you, they might win that argument, and I'll tell you why. For the first time, in spite of the fact that American casualties, American deaths are on pace for one of the worst months ever. The first 3 days of June were worse than May, and May was one of the worst months in the last several years. That now you're starting to see American casualties, American deaths deep inside the newspaper. In fact, in the New York Times today, it only warranted enough coverage to be on page 10. So the American interest evidently is fading. It's the worst thing that could possibly happen. These are American fighting men and women. This is as good are the people that we get. These are the best Americans, and they're on page 10. Page 10.
If we want to support our troops, what we need to do is bring them home. These soldiers coming back are so disillusioned by what they see in this country. I mean, they've been over there 24 hours a day fighting for their life. And when they get back here, no one's even reading the newspaper accounts about what's going on over there. We've had no leadership. No one has asked the American citizens to give any sacrifice whatsoever. We're just sending over underprivileged kids to die in this war. For what? You know, what is the point of all of this? And the Iraqis don't seem to care that much. I mean, the parliament's going on a 2-month vacation.
Paris Hilton is getting real good coverage, and Congress is counting that the American people will move on to more exciting things. Evidently, Paris Hilton, her arrest, her going into jail is more important than those American lives, and I tell you, it just sickens me.
You know, we recently got a response to one of our video blogs about Iraq, and the person who wrote in their email says, well, if we don't fight them there, we'll be fighting them here. And I did a little research on that and found that Lyndon Johnson said exactly the same thing about Vietnam in 1964. When he made that statement, 1,000 Americans had died. We did not end that war until the number was 58,000. Now, here we have the Bush administration making the exact same statement. And it doesn't make any sense. I mean, like Al-Qaeda can't do two things at the same time. It only took 19 guys for 9/11. I mean, if they want to come over here, they can come over here whether we're in Iraq or not. And most of the people fighting us in Iraq are fighting us because they don't want us in Iraq. And they're not going to follow us here. They just want us out of Iraq. So if we want to support our troops, that's what we ought to do. We ought to cut and run right now.
I also want to hit on that just for a moment, if we could. We talked about better to fight them there than to fight them here. You have to remember, in the Arab mind, they think about their country differently than we do. It is disgraceful for them to have people from outside, what they call infidels, on their ground. It is a disgrace. Not as a visitor, but to come in to set up military bases, which was the creation of Al-Qaeda when Americans set up bases for the first war in Iraq. That's what set off Osama bin Laden. And I really don't care what the guy thinks. That's not the issue. But everybody else, all the other Arab world, that's why they're drawn to us. So when you say better to fight them there than here, if there isn't a there won't be a here. What they're trying to do, they're not just trying to kill us, they're trying to get us to leave. We don't look at our country the way that they do. We throw our doors open. We throw open our doors to innovation and technology. These people see all of those things as being bad. Islamic fundamentalists see changes in the world as being horrible, horrible things. So That's why they're fighting. That's why they despise us so much. That's why we're fighting on all sides. We're not just fighting the Sunnis. We're not just fighting the Shia that are indigenous to the area. They've got Arab fighters that are tearing in. This is Osama bin Laden University that George Bush created when he started this war, and they're doing a great job of recruiting as a result of it. Our problem is not shrinking, it's getting bigger. There are more enemy combatants every single day.
I think about the Bush administration's continuing excuses as to why we're in why we are in Iraq.
That was a slip.
Yeah, that was a slip. You know, it started off with WMDs, then we had to get rid of Saddam Hussein for the good of their people. We had to spread democracy. We got to fight them there in order that we don't fight them here. If we leave, there's going to be genocide. You know, as an attorney, you learn to detect bullshit. And one big bullshit excuse is when somebody keeps changing their story as to why they did something. Well, what were you doing in the bank? Well, I went in to make a deposit. Well, actually, I was going to get some cash. Well, I was there for my sister. And when they go on and on like that, pretty soon you can't believe them at all with all these stories. And that's exactly what we have now. And why should we believe the Bush administration when they say that if we don't fight them there, we're going to fight them here, or that there's going to be genocide if we leave? They have been 100% wrong on every prediction that they've made about Iraq up until now. They're still making predictions. Why should we believe these people?